The unspeakable horrors of the deep sea, featuring Lindsay Nicole. Okay, let's go. Another casual Geographic video. Let's try and see what it's about.
That I'd rather eat 10 pounds of Popeye's biscuits with no drink than ever go out into the ocean. Well,
and it's perfectly aligned because we're also playing Subnautica, so we're gonna see what the deep sea is in Earth.
I'd rather ride cross-country on a bike with a hot grill for a seat than spend half a second in the deep sea. There's a lot of living nightmares and paralysis demons come to life if you sink deep enough. And the Megalodon is not one of them. You'll often hear this thing about how the prehistoric apex predator never got discontinued. It's just chilling a step above hell in the abyss.
There's no way, right?
For actually three good reasons. One,
no, there's no way that they exist. Yeah,
to the natural order. Two,
that's what I'm saying. It's way too.
That peaked in the Pliocene,
it's way too big.
We would have seen a body by now. And number three, why do y'all want this to be alive so bad? I promise you, there's way worse things down there. Like, I would evacuate my bowels if I ever saw a giga great white shark. They'll put me in front of a T-posing squid, and I'm more bricks than the entire city of Newark. The big fin squid is easily one of the most disturbing things alive as I'm saying this.
That's a real thing!
It's a T-posing predator with arms estimated to max out at just under 30 feet. Scientists believe the big fin catches bodies by dragging those arms, which can be easily 20 times its own body length, along the ocean floor like trawling nets and feeding on whatever poor soul accidentally bumps into them. You're gonna hear me say believe or we think a lot, and that's because we don't know a whole lot about them. Almost every sighting and virtually every specimen studied were either juveniles or paralarvae. We have no
juveniles, babies, small guys.
No way of knowing exactly what their final form could look like.
What?
For all we know, this could be Junior, and we just haven't seen Mama Big Fin yet. Who would have thought that just putting elbows on a squid would instantly turn it into the spawn of Satan? And if you thought the Big Fin was just this slow, passive floating predator, then you're seriously underestimating the ocean's ability to master your mental health.
Why is it going so fast?
This video was taken about 7,000 feet down in the Gulf of Mexico. But considering they're believed to be the deepest living squids at about 20,000 feet, I have a theory. This is a juvenile, and the big boys are the ones shacking it up down in the crotch of the ocean. But good news, the big fin probably only feeds on small fish and crustaceans. Bad news, there are squids big enough to beef with the biggest predators on the planet. And the biggest predator on the planet that isn't a disgraced former YouTuber is the sperm whale, which on its own would have to be one of the most traumatizing.
There's squids big enough that can fight a goddamn whale?
Things to witness during their 2-hour hunting expeditions down in the deep sea. Well, the tankiest carnivore on Earth regularly runs fades with the giant squid. And by giant, we're talking about calamari growing to an estimated 40 feet long. Not only are they themselves predators that hunt using 20-foot tentacles, they're opportunistic cannibals that would 100% murk their entire family reunion for some calories. Now, nature high-key screwed up their character design. They have a donut-shaped brain and an esophagus running through it, meaning if they swallow something big enough, not only do they run the risk of choking to a flatline, they can also factory reset their entire personality through severe brain damage. Which is why they mitigate this by shredding their victims with a razor-sharp beak and what is
a squid with a beak? A squid with a beak.
Essentially a tongue with teeth, the radula.
That beak is such a weapon
that you'll rarely see a sperm whale that hasn't been tattooed during a struggle with a giant squid. And while the plus-size cephalopod usually loses in a war with a whale,
that is insane.
They do not make it easy. But the most disturbing thing about them is that eye. Giant squids have the most physically imposing eye in nature, with it being roughly the size of a soccer ball. Contrary to popular belief, huge eyes don't exactly help it see further.
A soccer ball? Wait. No, that is enormous. That is enormous. If that's its eyeball, you can imagine how giant the actual squid was gonna be.
But it does mean they're terrifyingly good at noticing objects giving off their own light, which is a lifesaver, since when their biggest optosperm whale is on the hunt, modern-day Leviathan disturbs glowing creatures like jellyfish and crustaceans who flash in response. Having eyes as big as our heads means the giant squid can detect and use those flashes to avoid becoming a corpse. But that also means that if you ever go swimming in the Giga Squid's area code, the flashes you'd create mean that while you might not see it, the same animal that does its own kind dirty would know exactly where you are. And honestly, there's only one thing that
some like Leviathan shit, man, from Subnautica. When you hear it,
with hunting
it
tactics
sees
so
you.
Spiritually upsetting, I'm not even gonna talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and use a lifeline.
The Humboldt squid, also known as the red devil. I'm Lindsay, by the way. Hi. Humboldt squid are found in the eastern Pacific Ocean, typically between 600 and 2,300 feet below the surface
singular
of the
part of the world.
And their nickname comes from the way they use their pigment cells called chromatophores to communicate. You're probably familiar with chromatophores through videos of different cephalopods using them to change colors, blending into their surroundings, and even dreaming. And Humboldt squid notably use them to turn bright red when they're aggravated, hence the nickname Red Devil. It's very on brand. They're also extremely predatory and have been known to act aggressively towards scuba divers on rare occasion, which becomes a bit more terrifying when I tell you that they can get to 8 feet long and 100 pounds. Now you might be thinking, Lindsay, that is not that big. What about the giant squid?
For your European homies, that is 2.5 meters. 8 feet long is 2.5 meters. That is like 1.5 goddamn human being. Or more. That's insane.
Long and 100 pounds.
And that's what? 45 kilograms.
Now you might be thinking, Lindsay, that is not that big. What about the giant squid?
What do you mean
that's squid that can both get to like 40 feet long? What?
12 meters?
The best part yet. The Humboldt squid is known to live and hunt in groups of up to 10, no, up to 100, no, 1,000, yes, in groups of over 1,000.
You can get attacked by a group of over 1,000 12-meter giant squids. Nah, fuck that shit.
1,000.
What?
Squid. That's about 990
No, that's insane.
too many if you ask me.
Yeah, no, it is. One is already enough.
To communicate with each other, coordinating movements and attacks, allowing them to take down
coordinated attacks,
dragging them into the depths until they go unconscious.
Coordinated attacks.
Communication patterns, as you can see in this little chart, but still don't know exactly what any of them mean. But regardless,
are you joking? They have that's an entire language right there. They have, these are the ones that can like change color based on their like moods, right? That is an entire language, bro. What? Oh my gosh.
Still don't know exactly what any of them mean. But regardless, that sounds like one of the worst ways to be unalived in the ocean. Oh,
yeah.
Wait, this isn't a TikTok collaboration. That sounds like one of the worst ways to die in the ocean.
So as you can see, whether it's being confronted by a Humboldt block party or squaring up with a live action Kraken, there are many aspects of the deep sea that end up with you putting your therapist up a tax bracket. And a lot of that's because of this cute little thing known as deep sea gigantism. The idea that the cold temperature, the dissolved oxygen, and the lack of pressure from predators allow some animals to escalate to the biggest and most terrifying versions of themselves. Exhibit A, the Japanese spider crab, which can measure 12 feet across from claw to claw and weigh as much as a human toddler. Only thing worse than a giant spider crab is a giant crab spider. This is an Antarctic sea spider, a dinner plate sized demon spawn that hunts by sucking the life out of its prey through its proboscis. Now technically, they're not actual spiders, but also I imagine most people watching technically don't give a especially—
That is the most terrifying shit ever. Nah.
Since this one looks like it identifies as a face hugger. Then there's a giant isopod, which is essentially an aquatic cockroach big enough to be cradled like a baby. No clue why you would though. And if you're looking for a truly supersized animal crossing, the oarfish should be on your list. The giant oarfish can grow to well over 30 feet long, and there have even been claims of those in the neighborhood of 50 feet. Proof that back in the day when we had stories about sea monsters, they weren't lying, they just didn't have all the names yet. Also, if you caught that pun earlier, we're friends now. But with deep sea gigantism and the endless expanse of ocean acting as a canvas for Shaitan to practice his art, if you dive deep enough, there be monsters. For example, this isn't an animal. It's a group of animals joined together in something like a hive mind. So we're not talking about it, we're talking about them. And Sophonophore—
What the fuck do you mean hive mind? So it's like a group of like different parasites living together to create as like one and to work like one entity. That is
like
nah.
This come in many forms, like the Portuguese man of war armed with venom to ensure that the excruciating experience of meeting one is permanently etched into your brain. And there's a Priodubia, a giant Sophonophore that can flex a total length of up to 160 feet. And even though it's a collective group of tiny animals, its length could humble a blue whale, making it technically the longest creature on the planet. Or at best, a modest second, since the bootlace ribbon worm has been reported to reach 180 feet in length. And
that is half a fucking football field. That is half a football field. Are you joking? Oh my god. No.
it's toxic because because the ocean, and of course it is, with nasty smelling mucus potent enough to life-deprive the crabs it likes to eat. Like I said, whether it's Lucifer's tapeworm or a flying spaghetti creature, there be monsters. And it gets so much worse than a giant worm, because that's terrible.
It's worse. It gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse.
Terrifying as the deep sea is, it's also nasty. And there might not be anything more repulsive than the hagfish. This loogie linguini feeds on the rotting corpses and carcasses that sink down into its domain. And since they don't have any actual teeth, the graveyard guppy feeds by sliding into an opening and eating the decomposing body from the inside out.
You need to give me a second. You need to give me a check. You need to... You need to give me a second, chat. So you're telling me... I don't even... No.
And you would think that something that eats like a casket wouldn't have to worry about getting put on a plate itself. Again, you're giving the ocean too much credit. As self-defense, the hagfish will sweat buckets of slime, a phlegm jacket that's thick enough to clog the gills of anything hungry enough to F around and unlucky enough to find out. To the point where this is the end game of a truck transporting hagfish on the highway, crashing. Now, you've definitely seen this picture before, but have you ever stopped and asked yourself what they were doing there in the first place? Remember how I said nothing that eats like a hagfish should ever have to worry about getting eaten? Well, simple. For these hagfish, their final destination...
Bro! This looks like something straight out of The Last of Us. This looks like something from The Last of Us, bro. This is like some kind of fucking, like, zombie virus. This is disgusting!
Destination were dinner plates in Asian countries such as South Korea, where they're considered a delicacy.
Hell
now, I'm not one to judge other
no.
cultures, but we seem to have a habit of constantly trying to eat all the things nature went out of its way to tell us not to. But one thing you won't see as a main course is something I...
Actually, now that I'm editing this would probably go hard. You would fucking eat that shit. You would eat that shit. No, stop.
Ironically named after a fruit.
Stop.
The sea cucumber is like the hagfish in that its meal prep consists of all the things we normally flush, burn, or bury. All the soul evacuated bodies that sink down to the ocean floor instantly get put on the cucumber's grocery list. It's a literal bottom feeder, and I mean that since they'll also make a meal out of feces. But like with vultures, if Thanos had beef with sea cucumbers, the world would become an infinitely more disgusting place. That's not the only way sea cucumbers contribute to society. They're also often used as a protective bunker for fish, and well, let's just say they break in through the back door. Oh yeah, it's a violation of the
I can't do this.
highest natural order. It gets worse when a pearlfish decides to have a playdate right next to its prostate. I don't even know if they have a prostate, but you get what I mean. If that makes you uncomfortable, here's an ad to give you time to mentally prepare for what's next. This adorable little guy is known as a basket star. It's a type of brittle star and an echinoderm, which actually makes it a close cousin of the sea cucumber.
Where's
if you
the
ever learned
ad?
about fractals in geometry, then that's why the repeating pattern of branching arms might look familiar. It's also why the US is really wasting $20 billion a year looking into space, because the real ET is happening right here. Because
It fucking is. The real ET shit is happening right here. What is this? What is this? You're telling me that this is not some kind of alien? This is on Earth? Oh my god.
right here. Because of the unsightly way basket stars get from A to B, they've also earned the nickname sea snakes. I feel itchy all of a sudden. However, even though it looks like something Lucifer would use to pleasure himself, they eat mostly zooplankton and are pretty much harmless for the most part.
Okay,
and honestly,
thank God.
that pretty much describes 80% of the nonsense in the deep sea, only really harmful to your peace of mind. Like take the frilled shark. Having been around for 80-something million years, not only is the frilled shark a living fossil, it's likely nature's rough draft beta version of sharks today. Also, don't let this video fool you. They can grow to a respectable 6 feet long. Also, they can be pregnant for 3.5 years, which honestly makes about as much sense as everything else down there. And in terms of your mental health, the frilled shark is pretty harmless. Until you look them in the mouth. The devil's fleshlight has hundreds of needle-like teeth to ensure that anything that gets caught in there doesn't get a second chance to pursue happiness. And for a shark that's been around long enough to have attended Saturn's wedding, I don't know why, but every picture of them looks like they're struggling with their own existence. Like I said though, they're not a threat to humans. But like I also said, therapy ain't cheap, so if you don't want to end up on a couch, don't look a frilled shark in the mouth. But yeah, you'd be surprised at just how many types of sharks you'll find in the same neighborhood SpongeBob got stranded in that one time. You have 20-foot sleeper sharks that are somehow able to use stealth to just spawn and inhale sustenance like a water Kirby. Speaking of sleepers, in 2015, a Pacific sleeper was recorded in the Solomons Island. Why is that important? Well, its home address was right under an active volcano, proving that if any animal had plot armor, it'd be sharks. Then you have the ghost shark, which, okay, yep, you got me, isn't an actual shark. It's a close cousin known as a chimera. The ghost part, though, that's on brand. They kind of remind me of the dry bones fish from Mario. The ghost Nada shark doesn't even have the teeth you'd expect it to have, but instead they have plates that they use to grind up food. But since nature's constantly overcompensating, chimeras do have venomous spines that are harmful to more than just your mental well-being. But by far the weirdest—
What is up with all of these like weird ass fucking sharks and animals that I've never seen before? What do you mean? What do you mean venomous sharks? Are you joking? Like crazy looking sharks. Why? What?
thing about them, chimeras have a tenaculum on their forehead. A tenaculum is a reproductive organ, meaning this fish has a
stronger donger on his head?
That aside, this fish fresh out of Tim Burton's Wet Dream is actually pretty cool looking. And I'm just gonna say it, I think they're cute, and I'm perfectly fine with standing on that hill alone. However, I don't think you'll find a single soul on this next shark's hill.
Feast your eyes on the Goblin shark, a demon dog-looking fish with a mouth that snaps like nobody's business. They're rarely seen, but are known to live in oceans all around the world.
Why do they look like that? They're in Spain. They're in Spain and France, chat. It's Jover.
Of up to 4,200 feet below the surface of the ocean.
Okay, thank
They're
God.
estimated to get to 18 feet long, which is really big for a deep sea shark. You might have seen videos online of their jaws just fully ejecting.
What was that? What was that?
From their brain case.
What?
In a process called slingshot feeding. It's kind of what they're known for. Their upper and lower jaws lunge forward away from the skull, engulfing their prey. I know it probably seems ridiculous and almost alien, but it's actually not uncommon. Most fishes have jaws that aren't entirely attached. One might argue that the goblin shark is the most extreme example of this look, until you see a video of the sling jaw wrasse, who use suction feeding to snatch up their prey. They look like they have a trombone.
No, bro, what the fuck is this? Like some kind of elephant underwater?
Stuck in their mouth. Goblin sharks have a particularly long snout, and it's not for nothing. They have sensory structures, pores all over it that help them locate their prey, like squid, fish, and crustaceans. And I am personally grateful I am not a squid, fish, or crustacean.
Yeah, goblins are
me
right
too,
word
me
for the
too.
only shark in the world with
Yeah,
a
I'm very
receding
happy
gum
I'm not one of
line.
those.
But you gotta admit, eating your own jaw to catch calories is pretty metal, and you're gonna find that a lot of the creatures rolling in it deep have evolved some of the most creative ways of bagging groceries. Probably the most popular is the fish that nearly turned Nemo into an orphan. The anglerfish has two defining personality traits. And one of them is that fishing lure hanging right in front of those life-canceling jaws. That light actually comes from bioluminescent bacteria shacking up inside a modified fin. So when a bite-sized light work swims up to the light thinking it just cops some easy protein, the angler ensures that some fish out there never sees its father again. The other thing anglerfish got clout for is their mating habits. I'm not gonna get into it, just know that if your marriage looks anything like theirs, you're gonna need both a divorce and a restraining order. And you know what? Intensive therapy on top of that.
No, he's right. These fuckers are ugly. Oh my God.
Freaking viciously. Nemo's paralysis demon isn't the only deep sea creature to weaponize light. This distinguished gentleman is known as a stoplight loosejaw, and its defining trait is that it uses a red light to hunt, which turns out to be a massive cheat code, since the longer the wavelength of a color, the less energy that wavelength has, and the faster it gets absorbed by water. And since the color red has the longest wavelength out of all of them, it's the first one to get absorbed. This is why red light can't reach the deep sea, and the animals living in the abyss that are red actually appear black, which makes it easier for them to hide from predatory smoke. But with a stoplight using red as a searchlight, it's pretty much cracked at this version of hide and seek. Not to mention, since most of the life down there can't even see red, it's able to catch bodies while also not giving up its location to predators or the prey it packs up.
Wait, that's insane. So Mans is like he's using one of like those military heat lights, whatever it's called, like these like tracing shits, right? I don't know what they're called, like the ones that when it's dark, like you can see people in the darkness, kind of like that, where it's like, oh yeah, it's like they're like super far, but because like humans are like warm, you can like see them. It's kind of like that, bro. Yeah, infrared shit. What? That's insane. So he's like tracking them with like what?
Wall hack and a real life invisibility.
Oh my gosh.
And that freakish overbite ensures that once prey is found, it's lost forever. But why hunt prey when you could just sit and wait for it to come to you? That's the entire playbook for the deep sea lizardfish. Just look at that smile. You know he's on nefarious timing. And at over 2 feet.
You know who? You know who reminds me of? The fucking aliens from Dawn to Dawn, bro.
genius timing.
Nah,
and
bro,
at over
those
2 feet
lips,
long, they earn the title of being one of the premier apex predators of the deep sea. As a habitual camper, they lie waiting for life to pass them by before they lunge and use hypodermic needles for teeth to cancel it. And with apex standing for anyone providing smoke gets extinguished, lizardfish don't hesitate to turn their own kind into coffin fodder. And with the whole point of those teeth being to hold struggling, panicking prey in place, they make sure they don't live long enough to learn from their mistake. But as much of a therapy bill this gecko guppy's mugshot might be, it might not even be the worst headshot in the ocean. Not as long as this is still a factor. I don't know anyone who would waste the oxygen trying to defend
What the fuck is that?
Many say this is a face only a mother could love. Well, then maybe he is my son. This is the deep sea telescope fish, one of the most stunning creatures of the deep tropical oceans. They're found
Stunning. Stunning. Yeah, queen. Yeah, you know what? You do you. You do you.
at a depth of about 1,600 to 6,600 feet below
That's
the surface of the
insane.
ocean. I can't say that normally. Surface of the ocean. And like you'll see if you look up photos of them online, they are often photographed at unfortunate angles that don't do them any justice. They orient themselves upwards, hanging out vertically in the water column, as they use their specially adapted eyes to hunt for the silhouettes of their prey. There are two species of telescope fish, Gigantisra indica and Gigantisra chuni. Don't be fooled by their genus name, which makes
Chunibyo. Chunibyo. Okay, bro.
them sound like they're gigantic. That is not the case at all. Indica only gets to about 8 inches long and chuni a measly 6. They are just little guys. Gigantisra actually translates a measly 6. They are just
I'd say they're well above average, but that's just me. Just a measly 6 inches, right, guys? Right. Right, guys? just a measly...
just little guys. Gigantisra actually translates to big tail, specifically. They are about half tail. But if they happen to latch onto a snack that's a bit bigger than their own size, that's no problem at all. They underwent a series of skeletal reductions that allow for more room to just fold it in half. That's right, they're expert folders. In 1925, scientists found a 5.5-inch long viper fish inside the stomach of a 3-inch long telescope fish. They described it as neatly folded, an incredible quality possessed by the lovely telescope
Hell no!
fish.
Yeah, I'm sure we gave it bliss.
You're telling me that homie folded another fish like a piece of clothing inside of their stomach? What? That's like some of those freaks that like not cherry, how do you say that? Cherry stems with their tongues. What the heck? That's
Hairline
crazy.
restoration surgery, he'd be cute, but that's just me. That being said,
That
there's
is
a lot
not
of pretty
cute.
dope things just chilling in the deep. Take the barrel-eyed fish, the fish with a transparent head that means it can spot ops or prey directly above it, thanks to those two.
A fish with a transparent head so that it can see everything around it. And this is real. This is real life shit. This is not something pulled out of an alien movie or like some kind of Subnautica mod. This is like an actual goddamn fish.
Green gummy looking orbs that are actually its eyes, or the
Green gummies.
ultra rare giant phantom jellyfish equipped with 30-foot arms that makes this ET understudy the length of a whale shark.
Bro, that shit is beautiful though. Holy fuck, that looks like clothing, dude. That looks like silk. What the fuck?
And when I say rare, I mean this jelly's only been seen like 100 times in the history of mankind. So the fact that you're watching this right now is kind of wild. Then you have the deep sea Dumbo octopus that copes with stress by turning itself into a ball to discourage predators from eating it. And if this right here looks familiar, yeah, right to his thighs. The vampire squid does the inverse, as they'll turn themselves inside out and into their own personal panic room whenever they're pressed by a possible predator. And how about a sea pig? Take everything I said about sea cucumbers and forget it for a second, because honestly, they're just really cute in a way I can't fully explain. But it's not hard to see what makes this squid instant serotonin. Rosia pacifica, or the stubby squid, is actually more like a cuttlefish. It's also a cuddly fish, and it's nature's apology letter for the sheer trauma it saturated the ocean with. It's actually real, and those arts and crafts looking eyes help it catch prey on a nocturnal schedule. It's also important as an environmental indicator, since scientists will often study their responses to changes in water pH and use that to determine how polluted the water is around them. Which you would think would earn this anime octopus the respect of the scientific community.
That's insane.
Well, you'd be wrong. There's a video where some scientists found one, and let me just say, not even Hiroshima got roasted that hard. But that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you go ahead and drink water, hug your moms, go subscribe to Lindsay's channel, link will be in the description. Shout out to Lindsay for being in this video.
That was a good ass video.
See y'all
in the next one. Yeah.
It's like they look fake, like Davy Jones.
They look like googly eyes.
They look like they just painted them on.
They look like fake painted on eyes. Not. That was a good video. Holy shit, guys! Go check out Casual Geographic. That was banger. Thank you so much for watching, YouTube Kikos. This was a really good video. But honestly, I ain't gonna fucking lie. Deep sea in general, terrifying shit. We don't know half of what's on our globe. Like, dude, we have like 70% ocean and the rest is land, and we have no clue what's down there. It's actually insane. But yeah, really sick video. Banger.